When should you get rid of your old car and move on to something different? Folks, again, we live in tough times in these days with buying cars and new cars and car prices and repair prices too. They're very high. So in this video, I want to share with you some things because this is what I do for a living. I'm a mechanic. I worked with Toyota for a long time as a master diagnostic technician. I opened my own shop. All we work on is cars all day long. And we don't have service advisors in our shop, so I actually talk to every single customer almost that we do inspection or diagnosis or whatever the case. And this is something that I see all customers go through. You got an old car, it's falling apart. Is it time to let it go, or should we fix it up and keep going with it? And through these interactions, I want to share with you some insights on things that you should really consider when you're in that situation, because times are tough. Cars are expensive, repairs are expensive, and how do you make the best decision? I want to share with you my humble 2 cents right after this. Let's talk about this, folks. So here's what I see from folks, and it's something I don't want you to do. Lock up. I'll never buy a new car. I don't want another car payment. And then you end up making a bad decision that 6 months later, you're forced to do that. And now you spend money to fix the car, and then you're making a car payment. Folks, nobody likes car payments, but sometimes it's a way of moving forward. It's just, there's no way around it. However, this is something, let's get something out of the way before we dive into this deeper, because I see folks have sentimental value to cars. And there is a difference. Some folks have a real sentimental value to a car, and some folks, it's an assumed sentimental value. Real sentimental value to a car where we're not thinking about this financially. This doesn't matter. Whatever the case may be, we're keeping this car. I'll give you an example. If this was your late father's car and he entrusted this car to you, don't get rid of this car. This is the best car in my life. I want you to keep it as a family heirloom. You're not getting rid of that car no matter what happens. I get it. That's different, folks. And usually a car like that is not your daily driver. It's a family heirloom, something parked in the garage, driven on weekends, on special occasions, and that's it. There's not a car you're going to depend on. That's different. But the presumed sentimental value is a bad one. Let's talk about it. Oh, we've had this car for so long. My kid learns to drive in it. I brought my kids from the hospital with this car. We love this car. We have so much memories with it. Don't mix up memories with a car with sentimental value, because they're not the same thing, folks. Here's my best advice on that one. Get attached to the memories of the car, not the car itself. Because cars, they will find a way to turn these good memories into horrible ones if you let them. Here is the idea. This is something, all cars will do this at some point. You bought the car new, drove it for years and years and hundreds of thousands of miles, and it's great. Then they tend to create a storm, and it comes in stages. You notice you'll have 1 year where it's like, what's going on with this car? We're having problems, problem. And then it's smooth sailing from there on out. That's normal in a life cycle of a car, folks. You're gonna have storms. Like the first storm you're gonna get with a new car, it needs brakes, tires, first wave of big maintenance. It all piles up in one go. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's like, whoa, this is a lot. That's why you notice so many folks sell their car before we get to that point and move on to the next one, because they don't want to deal with it. And I get it. Everybody has their priorities. But the older the car gets, the more that snowball effect gets larger and larger. And then you get to a perfect storm. You need engine work. You need transmission work, you need suspension work, you need brakes, you need tires. This doesn't work, doors don't lock, and everything is falling apart. That's the perfect storm with a car that you have presumed sentimental value with it, meaning you have a lot of memories with this car. To keep those memories alive and move on. Because if you spend a lot of money on this car and it's falling apart, and then after 6 months, you need to spend more and more and more, because these waves of problems start getting closer and closer and closer. All of a sudden, it's like, this car is bankrupting me, man. I need to get rid of it. All of a sudden, all these good memories with the car, gone. All you remember about it is, man, that car bankrupted me. That's the difference. Catching when is it a good time to get rid of a car is very important. because it could be the difference between a car literally bankrupting you or you making a sound financial decision with a plan. Everything you do with a car, have a plan, an unrealistic one. Drive it till the wheels fall off is a bad plan, folks. I should flat out tell you. We don't want the wheels to fall off. That's dangerous. That's to repeat that. I've said that before in previous videos, but I'm going to repeat it again. Here's the thing. You have an old car. You've had it for a long time. You go to a mechanic. Come up with a lot of stuff that it needs. You need to have a plan because based on that plan, you're going to decide, are we going to put the money into this car and fix it? Or are we going to move on? Here's how that plan looks like. What do you, if you were to fix it, how long do you want to keep it for? 2 years? 5 years? 20 years? Because this is a 15-year-old car. You may keep it for 20 years. I would reconsider, because that's not realistic. But if you want to keep it for 5 more years, until your last kid gets out of college and gives you a breather for a year so you can afford a car payment, yeah, that's a realistic plan, because you have a certain life events that's going to happen, and then you're going to move on from it. So maybe if we put this money into it, last another 5 years, we're good. But you need to have an end goal with cars. If you just open-ended, that's when problems start. That's the one way to look at it. The other way to look at it, if in the end of your plan, you're gonna get rid of this car and buy one in the same price range, that doesn't even make sense. That's what I want you to consider, because that's what I have conversations with folks about. Let's say you got a 10-year-old car, got 150,000 miles. You own the car outright, you don't have a loan on it or anything. It has some big expenses coming up. This car is worth $7,000-8,000. Well, you got to spend $7,000-8,000 to fix it. But what would you do if you were not going to fix it? You were going to get rid of it. If you were going to go buy a new car or 3-year-old used car with like certified and all kinds of warranties, that would make sense. But if you're going to sell this car, which now needs a lot of work, instead of selling it for $7,000-8,000, you're going to sell it for $3,000-4,000 and go buy a $7,000-8,000 car. You might want to reconsider at that point and take a minute to think about this. Because folks will usually get hung up on, well, I'm not spending more than what this car is worth. Well, you're going to go spend that on another car that you don't know and probably going to need the same things. And you're just back to square one. That's a mistake I see folks do. If you don't have a plan, think about a plan. Because if you've owned this car for a long time, you've taken care of it, every car will have problems at some point. No car lasts forever. If anybody tells you that, they're lying to your face. Some cars last more than others, but they never last forever. You had this car for a long time, you maintained it well, but it has problems. Are you going to go and buy another car that somebody else neglected and has a lot more problems and you don't know about them until you buy it and then you find the reality? Or are you going to put your money in a car that at least you know? That's the consideration. But there's another part to that consideration, because there's risks. There's always risks with putting money into an old car. Insurance. You get in an accident, you just spend all kinds of money in this car. You get in an accident, insurance company's not going to take that into consideration, because that's your decision to put the money into it, not adding to the value of the car. If you spend $5,000 in your car, that doesn't increase its value by $5,000. That's not how this works, folks. So that's one consideration. The other one is, what's your plan? Because if you're only going to keep this car for a year and move on, it doesn't make sense to put all kinds of money into it. You can do the important stuff, kind of slowly just mend it to keep it safe. That's the main thing. And relatively reliable until you get to your year, then you're moving on. But if you're going to put any kind of big money into a car, let it be a 3 to 5 year plan. That's a more realistic one. You spend $5,000 on this car today. With minimal maintenance, some repairs here and there, we keep it for at least 3 years, up to 5 years. I'd say that's a decent investment in a car. Not investment as in you're going to get that money back, but investment as in it's going to be a good tool to serve you for these years, for the money you put into it. Because if you're going to sell it and buy another one just like it, exactly the same year, same mileage, same age, might as well stick with the one you know. But if the one you know that you neglected it, that's a different story. In my opinion, And this is what I tell folks. If you've been to my shop, we've had this conversation, you already know what I'm about to say. In order for you to make that determination, you need multiple things. First, you need to know what it's going to cost to repair this car. And make sure the person that you're sitting in front of actually looked at the car properly and not missed this and missed that, and all of a sudden you spend this money 2 months later, oh, but this is now happening, and certain things you can't control. But if they did a sloppy inspection and they missed stuff, that's kind of a problem. Or the worst one is, I see this all the time in the automotive industry, they're afraid to tell you the truth as it is without sugarcoating it. Don't sugarcoat it. Owner of the car got to know the truth. My job is not to make people happy. My job is to tell them the truth as it is, unfiltered, unsugarcoated, so they can make a decision based on that. If it's bad news, it's bad news, but it's better that I give you bad news today than give you sugar-coated okay news, and then you find out 2 months later after you spend money that it was indeed very bad news, but I just decided not to tell you. That's the reality, folks. So you need to have that part. How much is it going to cost to fix this car and fix it well? How much is this car worth if I go trade it in today? And folks usually about that part of trading it or selling it will ask, oh, but should we disclose what's wrong with it? Of course, disclose what's wrong with it. That's the right thing. Do the right thing will come back to you. But if you're trading it in, you're trading it into a professional car buyer and seller. They should know and inspect their cars. If they miss stuff, that's on them. You're not hiding anything. Hey, I got this car. You go check it out. Tell me how much you want. You give me for it. And the other thing I usually tell them, disclose what's wrong with the car. If you're selling this car for $2,000, today, nobody's going to go buy a $2,000 car and expect it to be perfect, like a new car. If you want a perfect car, go buy a new one. That's the reality. Disclose what you know about it and no secrets. You want it checked out, bring your mechanic, have it check them out. The other piece of information you need to know is, if you were to sell this car, what are you going to go buy? Go out in the market. See what's out there. If you're thinking of a new car or a newer car where you're going to have to finance it, well, go see what kind of price ranges. What are we talking about? Once you get all this information, you need to sit on it for a while. You need to think about it. See what works best, because what works for me won't work for you, won't work for the person next to you. Everybody's situation and thought process will be different, and everybody's plan will be different. So you need to consider these things before you make a decision. I get folks here, engine has a problem, they're ready to go. Let's do this, I want to do this. Well, why don't you give it some thought? Sleep on it over the weekend. I'm not going anywhere, car's not going anywhere, you're not going anywhere. What's the difference if we do this job now or Monday? Think about it. And sometimes they'll come back Monday, say, you know what, I thought about it, thank you for that, let's do it. Okay. Some folks will say, you know what, I thought about it, I went out shopping, I bought a new car. Great. But if you would have went with it at the moment, you would have regretted it. See, that's the difference. Let's talk about some things that, red flags, things that kind of like immediately draw the line. It's over. We're not going to even think about it with old cars. The number one thing is rust and structural rust. Now, I'm not talking about, a little bit of rust at the bottom of the door, a little bit of surface rust here and there. Obviously, if you live in an area like in our area, Chicago area here, you're going to have rust. That's normal. But significant structural rot, like a truck that has a frame. Frame's all rotted and falling apart. Here's what I see folks do. Folks will, it pains me to say this word, but I gotta say it. Denial is the word I'd like to use. Oh, but I can go to this guy, he's gonna weld a bunch of angle iron and get it all fixed up and good. Great. If the frame of the car is completely rotten, how do you think the rest of the components are? That's the question I want you to ask yourself. It's not just that the frame is rotten, it's the level of corrosion on this car. Everything you do will turn into 10 other things, because not everything is completely corroded and gone. You get a car that has frame rot, do yourself a favor. Don't spend a penny on it. It is not worth the oil change you're doing to it. Just move on. Don't be stuck in that. This is not the last car there is. There's a lot of better cars. And if you love this exact model, you live in a Rust Belt area, go to the south, get yourself an exact car, rust-free example. You know the car, you know what to look for. Buy a good one, bring it up, undercoat it, and you won't have this problem. That's kind of line I would draw. If you have severe rust, move on from the car. Bad idea to keep it regardless. Second thing is, heavily modified cars that are falling apart. Bad idea to keep them. Because here's the problem with heavily modified cars. You don't know what's what anymore. The company that sold you this lift kit is gone, no longer available. And now you cut the frame is cut and all these modifications are done. None of them work. They're all broken and there's no parts to fix them. Speaking of parts, very old cars with no support. Meaning, you have a very old car. We just had a situation. 1996 SC400, Lexus SC400. Beautiful car, rusty. Rusty and falling apart. Every problem that car had, we had a discontinued part with it. And you look at, okay, I usually use original parts in my shop. When there is no option for original parts because they're discontinued, well, we got to fix the car with something. We go look at aftermarket. Maybe we'll find a solution. There was nothing. Some things that car needed, there was no option but used, and we're talking about a 30-year-old plus part used. I wouldn't do that, flat out. We get to that point, this car is no longer supported. Unless this is some toy car that you drive it once a month or for fun, doesn't make sense to keep it, folks. Don't keep an unsupported car. It just doesn't make sense. The last one is accident cars, salvage titles. Folks, why do insurance companies total cars? I mean, do they like to? Insurance companies don't like to pay money. They really dislike that. Why do you think an insurance company will total a car after an accident? Just hand you a check, tell you, have you be on your merry way. Because they know if they fix this car, it's going to be a disaster and they're going to be stuck with it for the rest of their life. That's the problem. That's why. So the assumption of the insurance company totaled the car, I'm going to go mend it and keep it going, is a bad idea. Cars, when they get in severe accidents, they'll never be right. And the more money you keep pouring into them, the more trouble they're going to keep giving you. And they'll never drive right. They'll never look right. They'll always have strange problems that you keep always chasing after. It just doesn't make sense. You get a car that gets in a severe accident, and the insurance company totals it, move on. Especially with old cars. Because old cars are a much higher risk of getting totaled because their value is less. You get in that situation, do yourself a favor. Just walk away. That's one thing I'll tell you, please. Folks, it's a very tough decision. And I see that almost every day I have this conversation with a customer. It's a very tough decision. And folks who are not into cars, not car enthusiasts, they don't have four or five cars that they could choose from. Folks don't have that. That's not the reality. This is the only car. It's just a tool. They're not really a car guys. They just want the thing to work, and it's not. They don't want to go figure out how to buy a car. They're not into this stuff. They have their busy lives and kids and jobs and all kinds of problems in their life. This is the last thing they want. But folks, I'll tell you one thing. You got to take a step back, take a deep breath. Nobody likes car trouble. Nobody does. But you can't make a rush decision simply because you don't want to deal with it. You got to take it with calm, think about it properly. Because that 1, 2, 3 days you're going to take to think about it really, really long and hard could equal you making a decision that you're not going to regret 10 years later. You make a rush decision, you could regret it the next week. That's what I'm trying to tell you here, folks. Move slow when it comes to big decisions like that with cars, and take all the facts in front of you before you make a decision. That's important. And when it comes to red flags or the things that we draw the line, please adhere to them, because it never ends well when this rusty car with a completely rotten frame keeps going on the road. You can't fix those. You can weld some metal on them, and they're going to look better, but they're not better. That's one thing I will tell you, folks. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.